Hey there, conquistadors. It's us, Table It Gaming. I'm Isaac,
I'm Brandon.
and we're here to give you our hottest takes on an army neither of us have ever played,
Old Dominion.
the Old Dominion. The Old Dominion. Not the New Dominion. We don't talk about the New Dominion.
No.
No, we're talking about the old one, the better one. We're staunch traditionalists here.
Oh yeah, and we also like Phony Boys.
Uh, You do as an Ossiarch Bone Reaper player.
That's true.
In another game, so we don't talk about that game system. No, we're here talking about Conquest. All right, let's talk about the Old Dominion. So, what are the Old Dominion? They are the not quite undead. If I'm like getting deep into the lore iceberg here,
Yeah.
I don't think they're truly classified as undead, but they are. I won't go into the deep lore pyramid. If you're in the deep lore here, go ahead and comment on our video and say how wrong this is. But I'm just gonna give like the baby's first glance version of it. Bunch of zombies that have inherited the will of a god of death, and now they march against the living. On effectively an eternal crusade of sorts.
Correct.
Um,
And their end state is to try to get things to reimagine, or sorry, to recombine the
Yeah.
god, and that is expressed through gameplay in their dark power mechanics.
Okay, yeah, let's go into the. All right, so that's the fluff overview.
Yeah.
Before we get into specific mechanics, I'm gonna. Here's my impression of the game design space, and
Yes.
tell me if you agree with this.
Yeah.
So they are a late game snowbally kind of faction where early game you're supposed to be weaker, but as things die, you build up, your units get stronger. What's left is strong enough that whatever early game leads your opponent got against you, your late game bonuses overpower that if you're playing good. Like there's obviously skill involved. It's not
Yes.
like, oh, you made it to turn 9, so you're gonna win now. It's not like that kind of thing. It's like you can take advantage of the snowball to defeat your opponent despite their early leads.
Yeah, if this was a MOBA, I would say this is a carry character, right?
Oh,
It's
yeah, I
like
like
you
that.
got to get to the right place, and if you play the early game well and don't lose too much or don't lose the wrong things, you'll be able to snowball later in the game, and that's the
Yes.
trick: is losing the right things early to gain that power later.
Yeah. So I'm going to before we even get into any mechanics, I'm going to jump into a really hot take. And I'm not sure if
Okay.
you agree with this on your review, but I just said that they are bad early game, good late game.
Yes.
My hot take is that they actually have, with this latest update, I feel an extremely strong early game. And then I guess their mid games or whatever, but their late game is also extremely strong. So like
Correct, yes.
I think that the design space has kind of been messed with a little. I'll go into
Yes.
specific reasons why, but that's my hottest take to like draw you into this video is I think that the Old Dominion have too strong of an early game for a late game faction.
Yep, I can go. I can
Okay.
see where you're going with that. Yeah, and in general, I think this is a very popular faction in the fact the aesthetics look really great.
They
I
look like
think
Dark Souls.
they look like Dark Souls. I think they take paint and weathering really well. So if that's why you like them and the rules are secondary, you should get into them because they look beautiful. Their rules are all over. We'll get into that, but I think the most important. Do you want to jump into the rules real quick?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Here, I've talked a lot so far. You explain what animate vessel is.
Yeah, so the big thing that with animate vessel is units don't take morale or resolve damage, which is very important. So when you look at a unit, you might be like, oh, they don't got great amount of wounds or they don't have a lot of defense, but they're taking a lot less damage because you're not going to do 4 damage, have them make a bunch of resolve checks, and take another 2 more at the end. It's just straight damage. The other thing is when they get terrifying 1, but they cannot inspire outside of charging. So this means, yeah, once again,
you can inspire from other sources. There's other things that like give you inspire. They basically can't benefit from the inspiration action.
Yes, there are things that break
like specifically because there's things like charging they still inspire from.
Yeah.
and certain special
There's-
rules like always count as inspired,
Cool.
they still benefit from that.
Yeah, that part I had like
Oh, okay.
yeah, but exactly. So I think what's nice about this army is they're very easy to get into is because it's what you get, right? If they have 3 defense and 4 wounds, that's it. You don't have to worry about resolve. You don't have to worry about what happens if they hit terrifying or fearful. You can look at their combat.
They're terrifying.
Exactly. You can look at your base attack, and you don't have to be like, well, if I inspire and get this, it's like if often you might not get inspire, so it's either going to be good and you want to do it, or it's not, and you're going to have to live with that.
A lot of the faction is Clash like 2, which the lack of inspiration can hurt in that kind of situation because like only a third of your attacks are going through, but like you're just going to want to charge in those cases, and like late game you get that inspiration back. In some cases, I actually now don't remember if that's. We'll go over the dark.
Yeah, because the different things have that. But the next rule is Memory of the Old, which is a special action you can take that you can spend an action. There are ways to not spend an action on this when you power up, which we'll cover later. That lets you get an effect as defined by I think the unit or the ability. So like an example here that's listed on screen is you might have an old memory that says plus cleave X, right? So then if you spend an action to do the Memory of the Old, if the ability of that unit is cleave plus X, you add the X. So this is variable by unit and ability, so there's not like broad thing, but they have a special rule. They can spend an action, and they can get a benefit from it as defined by the unit. So it's a little different than everything else.
This is, in my opinion, one of those, how do I say this? It feels like a place where a player can make a mistake.
Yes.
Especially when you get to the higher tiers, because as he alluded to, Tier 1, it's always an action. Tier 2, you can spend an action or use a draw event.
Yeah.
Tier 3, you can do it as an action and a draw event, which means that if they stack, they stack.
Yes. In the example of plus cleave, if you have plus 1 cleave, you resolve it as free, you get plus 1 cleave, and then you do you get plus. Yeah, so that's how you can stack some of these up.
Yeah, so this, because it's an action, it can tempt you into using it when it's not the smartest thing to do, or you can do something else when it would have been better to use the action on your Memories of Old. Yeah. With the lack of inspire as an action, it does feel like a little bit less of a you can get yourself in a trap situation, because like weighing the odds of inspire versus plus 1 cleave as a random example, like that would be a very difficult question. But because you don't get the inspire choice, like if you're in a prolonged combat, really you probably don't have many choices other than Memory of Old action, then Clash. But you know, there's that one in every 100 games where withdraw would be the correct choice, or combat reform, and then you Memories of Old instead, or you Memories of Old instead of combat reform. So that's one of the things to think about when you're considering like Old Dominion actions.
Yeah, and I agree. I think it can be a trap. So when I was thinking about this, my thought is you should play the game like you would play any other. And then when you are in combat or are in a situation you don't have anything else to do with the action, instead of doing nothing, do Memory of the Old.
Yeah.
Playing at high levels, you probably are better at figuring out sometimes it's worth doing another action or doing Old World instead of another action. But I think by and large, if you're overly indexing on it, you're probably leaving other better options. So I think exactly what you're saying is correct. Yeah. The last one I think is the one that
this is not.
Oh, sorry.
This is not the last one.
Okay.
Because there are a couple more. There's a very important one that I do want to talk about.
Yeah.
But we'll go over the empowerment. Do you mind if I take the lead?
Yeah. That's what. Go. Yeah.
Empowerment is you have a running pool of tokens, effectively, that as stands die and you do other things, you put tokens in the pool. At certain tiers, like when you have a certain amount of token, you are considered to be in a certain tier. So tier 1 is 0 to 8 tokens. Tier 2 is 9 to 17 tokens. Tier 3 is 18 to 22 tokens. And then Tier 4 is 23 or more tokens when you have certain Supremacy abilities.
Correct, yeah.
Each tier, I mentioned, the Memories of Old are impacted by which tier it is, and certain other things might key off of the tier specifically, but that's the basic of it. The additional part of that is that there's the Fallen Divinity unit, which Brandon's going to talk about it.
Yeah.
I feel I don't have anything to say about it honestly, but he feels like he's got a lot to say. You can either empower the Fallen Divinity or the troops.
Yeah.
And the Fallen Divinity has a special rule where it actually sucks up power that happens specifically near it.
Yeah.
And that has to go in the Divinity pool. This is another one of those trap situations. Not really, because I feel like if you've got a Fallen Divinity, you're always going to power up the Fallen Divinity.
Correct. Exactly, yeah. I'll get to it when I talk about Fallen Divinity, yeah.
And then the final... Can you actually scroll down? Because I think now is the final special rule is the Blasphemous Soma. You always get one of those tokens in the Supremacy phase, so you always get at least one.
Yeah.
So you're never in a situation where you just are not powering up. And also, all of your reinforcement rolls get a +1. Isn't that... Or -1? Or... Yeah. This is the... Hey, this is one of the things that makes the early game weird.
I actually missed that part of it. I know it's part of the red, but that is huge. So that makes them get units out better.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Your units come out faster than other armies' units. Like your lights come out on a 5 or better, or 5 or lower, whereas every other army comes out at a 4 or lower. Or then on turn 2, your mediums are on a 3 or lower, where every other army comes out on a 2 or lower. Your heavies on turn 3 are a 3 or lower. Everyone else is on a 2 or lower.
That does.
So you actually have better reinforcements and therefore better early game.
No, that's huge.
Than other armies. And this free army special rule that they get, which is a two-parter. The +1 to the reinforcement value costs points in Wadroon.
Yeah.
And it only applies to the warband that the character is in. So it takes a mastery, it costs points, and it only applies to the warband that character. Whereas this is across the entire army.
Nords don't have the bonus, but you can get flank on things. But once again, it's a supremacy ability, it's a warband, it's a limited set of things, right? And because of the restrictions, you can only get it on certain units, sort of like the Wadroon, right? Since it's warband only, it's like, if you can recruit it with that character, great. Or that if you can't, then pound sand. Yeah. Where this is just everyone, no matter how many warbands. That's crazy. That's hilarious because I just was like, cool. You get power.
Did not realize.
It glanced off my smooth brain. And then there's like a big thing is the dark powers and the Fallen Pantheon change depending on your character and your warlord and your supremacy and the different things. We'll cover that next.
Yeah.
So
do you have any supremacy abilities that you want to specifically talk about? Because I don't care particularly about... None of them stand out to me as like, I definitely want to talk about that. All of them just feel the same to me. And this is hot takes time. Like, I've never played and I've barely played against them. So some of them might be clear standouts, but...
Yeah, I'll tell you the ones I have. I'm just going to cover Fallen Divinity when we get to her because she changes everything, and I feel it's more interesting to talk about her there. So the two I care about is Zeliarch seems good because it gets level 4, which has value. But once per battle, you can get a free clash for the entire army. Every regiment gets the ability to, until 11 rounds, all friendly regiments in this warband may perform a free additional clash action during their activation.
Oh, free additional. Okay.
And it allows 2 clashes. So, like, if you can set it up correctly, this seems really good because you can clash if you're stuck in combat. You can charge, clash, and get your free clash.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because it's free additional. So, like, you could Memories of Old, clash. Certain units, when they get, like, +3 cleave or whatever with their Memories of Old. Okay.
So
that's the standout to me.
Yeah. And then the other one is the Strategos is just they can go up to level 4. The Dark Tier as well. Once per battle, they may reactivate the Supremacy until the end of the round. All friendly units in the army count current and power tier as 1 higher than the friendly. This is only interesting in the fact that you said, which is it helps them get past the middle. Right?
Oh, that's
so that's
true.
why I said it was good. It's like in the beginning you're getting things out. At the end things are dead and you should be powered up. But there's like that middle where you just need a bump for 1 round to like get the free action, get the free stuff.
Okay.
That seems how you get there, so it has use. So these feel like the these feel like the two choices for Warlords I saw. Either you want the double clash or you want a little bit more control over your dark tier or your tier level.
Yeah, The Archimandrite Warlord Supremacy ability doesn't seem that it's double spellcasting,
Yeah, and
which
the spells are better with this edition. That's the big change they recently did. But like double clash on a warband or two spells.
Double clash.
Oh,
just sounds
double
more-
free
Well,
clash with option for two clash. It's even
Yeah,
better
and
because you get action economy.
It's not like a Tempered Sorcerer where it's throwing out 14 damage
That's-
every time it spellcasts.
That's a thing. Yeah.
The spells aren't. Well, actually, does it? Yeah, you can't attempt to cast the same spell more than
Yeah.
once. If it let you cast the one that gives you a dark power token, I think that spell still exists in this
It does.
version.
It does.
Yeah. If you could like double cast that
And you could just like
accelerate
ramp
that,
out. Yeah. Okay. But they
that
don't.
would be interesting, but because you can't cast the same spell twice in a round, I'm not feeling it. And then Fallen
Yeah.
Divinity is its whole thing.
Yeah, we'll go because
I
yeah.
wouldn't even consider it the Fallen Ability's Supremacy ability because it basically makes the Fallen Divinity function, and the Fallen Divinity becomes your Warlord if you take it no matter what.
Yeah. So that's the thing.
So-
It's yeah.
It's basically just it's the rule to explain how this works.
Yeah.
Um,
So yeah, and just because we're talking about supremacy ability, we'll cover this real quick. So Ziliarch, it's a good melee character, class 3, 6 attacks, flurry for consistency, cleave. So this just doubles down on this character wants to attack things with its clash. It's good.
I didn't realize that it got flurry inherently.
Yeah, and it got regeneration 1, which is just like good.
Whatever.
Yeah, it's free. It's a change. Strategios has shields, but it's still got 5 attacks and stuff.
It's
yeah.
most important. I need to call this out
Yeah.
specifically. From the front, the unit counts. It's attached to counts as light for reinforcement roll. So you get +1 to the reinforcement value. So your lights come in on 3s, and then you join a unit, which can be Cataphractoi. Well, actually, I'm not sure if the Mounted Strategos has those, but like the Praetorian Guard or the Legionnaires, you can join them, and they come in as lights, even though they're mediums.
Yep. No mounted.
And Mounted Strategos, they don't have the from the front ability.
Oh, you're
So,
right. Yeah.
But the ability for you to bring in a medium as a light on a 3-up or as your auto bring in
seems
also
good.
a powerful early game ability. What's going on with this late game army?
Yeah, because one thing which we'll get to, Legionnaires seem to want to take this with them because Legionnaires are medium. They score better, and then there's upgrades that you generate more the tokens if you're scoring. So it feels like there's probably some way these guys come out early. Your Legionnaires sit on an objective where they count as extra stands, and you're just generating stuff buck wild because you're standing on an objective. And you can do this on turn 2 because, well, you come in on turn 1.
Yeah, you come in on turn 1, you march 10 inches forward, and then 10 inches forward the next turn. And most if not all of these scenarios have an objective that is no more than like 19.5 inches
Correct.
away.
Yeah.
So like you're on the closest objective, and yeah, generating points. So that Strategos from the front ability extremely powerful.
So
Mounted Strategos is a Strategos without that.
But you get to take more horsies, which is, if you like Cav, it's fine. I think the non-mounted one seems more interesting to me.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to talk to with these characters?
One of the characters has a dark power acceleration ability. I think it's the Hero Deacon, but can't be your Warlord. I think the Dark Supplication spell gives you one, and then they also have the ability to delete one of your own stands, and then that generates a Dark Power token, which is acceleration, which is good.
Good for consistency,
I think that acceleration is good. I'm not 100% certain whether it is good in practice, but it seems good.
Yep.
And, the warband they take isn't terrible either.
Yep. So we're going to go past these and into, should I talk about let's talk about Fallen Divinity.
Yeah.
So Fallen Divinity, as Isaac already said, is when you take Fallen Divinity, it has to be your Warlord. And it drastically changes how you play the game. So it puts this in a Hero Hammer aspect where Fallen Divinity sucks up the souls and gets more powerful, and as your tiers go up, her stats go up. And I think that is what's kind of interesting. The other thing that this goes to your early game, she is a heavy unit. she counts as a light for reinforcement, so she's probably starting on the table unless you're doing something weird.
Well, she has flank.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So she, unless you specifically don't want her to, she's
gonna
on the table.
Yeah. So and as you see, as she levels up here, she just gets all the keywords. So like
Yeah,
she's
that's
got
a lot of keywords.
base at 8 attacks, 10 attacks, 12 attacks, cleave
Defense
1, cleave
4,
2, cleave 3.
hardened.
Yeah. So it just gets better and better. So like
Defense 4, hardened, tenacious.
Yep, and it's backstopped by
Blessed.
by evasion. I know the evasion gets less as it powers up, which is actually I think a good control mechanic. But
Yeah.
I like Fallen Divinity because, and I don't think this game does any terms I'm aware of do this, but other games do 2-list formats, and it feels cool that you can have Fallen Divinity and then another list, and they both play very different, and it feels like a fun way to enjoy the game because you can have the Hero Hammer, or you can have a traditional army, so that's cool. The thing that I think is hard is if you're on Fallen Divinity, you're all in on that, and either it's going to work or it's going to get assassinated and not do anything. And I think that it to your point about things being a trap, it feels like having all your characters die, go into her, not tear up some of the other things. If you know what I mean, like it feels like if you can't get it to fire, then you're going to have a bad time. But interesting that it
a lot of eggs in one basket.
Correct. Yeah, and I like though that they have an option to have such a different army because I feel like not all factions in Conquest have like 2 ways to build. They're like all armies. I feel like when you look at Spires, a lot of Spires armies look 75% the same.
Yeah, I think that is kind of an internal balance issue with like their different sub-factions.
Yes.
Because in theory, you've got like the brute army and the infantry army.
Yes.
And I think that the brute army is actually a little, because the brute drones are the best, but they are in basically the infantry army.
Correct.
Or did brute drones get bad in the last update? See, I gotta get back.
We gotta do this with Spires.
Yeah, we gotta do this with Spires. You comment on our video because the reason we're doing Old Dominion is because one person commented like, "You should do Old Dominion." And we were like, "All right, whatever, okay."
Heck yeah. So we read them and we respond.
Yeah, this is sometimes we just send a thanks smiley face as a message. Sometimes we make a whole video.
That's it for
you.
That's it I had for characters. Do you want to go? I did write stuff up on the upgrades. Do you want to quickly?
I have one thing that I want to say about Dark Blessings, but the weapons and the armors and stuff don't particularly wow me. Like I keep looking at them and I keep thinking, hey, that's kind of cool, and then I think, specifically like I look at something like the Sanctified Lateron, right?
Yeah.
You can count a restricted as a mainstay. It costs you 40 points and only infantry can take it.
It's neat.
It's neat, but is anyone going to do that?
It's if you like a restricted choice and want to run more. Yeah, no, I agree with you. Like most of their items.
Are you going to spend 40 points to make Praetorian Guard mainstay?
Maybe you love Praetorian Guards. Maybe that's your thing. I don't want to yuck someone's yum.
Who the people who can take the Varangian Guard or whatever? Like, okay, you make the Varangian Guard mainstay.
Spend 40 points to get 4 of them?
You would... No. You'll... Wait. Okay, wait.
Yeah, see, character stands may choose one armyless entry that is available to them as restricted and count that regiment as mainstay option instead.
So I initially read that, and I could be wrong. Comment your thoughts on this. I thought that you picked, like, you added one regiment to your list and it became mainstay, but not that regiment type became mainstay.
I think for that, the way I read it is that warband, that becomes mainstay for that warband.
Okay, that's a little bit more interesting. I'm still not
40 points is a lot.
40 points is a lot, and then like it basically mandates that you then do 4 Varangian Guards.
Correct.
But like, do you want to take 4 Varangian Guards?
There's someone out there.
What I think is probably better, even if it is my interpretation of one regiment becomes mainstay instead of restricted, like one specific regiment choice. Then you just take that, and then you take another one of it, and you get 2 Varangian Guards without needing to take any mainstay tax.
Yeah.
Instead of like...
That's probably better.
Yeah.
Is that worth 40 points? Probably. Maybe. Some people will say that. It's neat.
Yeah,
It's
it's
it
neat. It's
when
neat.
when we go through this, a lot of these are just like it's neat. There's like one here that I think you always take. Um,
All the swords that just make you 10 times killier.
yeah,
Sure, why not?
yeah.
Okay,
The
why
NSA
not?
brand of Faithless Zeliarch only. Your wounds cause double morale damage. He wants to be in close combat. He causes double, so like that's great. You already cause terrifying. If you come up against another Old Dominion, you're not doing anything with that, so have fun. But otherwise, it seems fine for 30 points.
Yeah.
What's the next one? So I have the the Calamitas Blade of the Cellsor. 20 points, plus one attack, plus one cleave. That's probably worth it
Okay.
almost any day of the week.
Yeah.
And then like a lot of the other stuff is dual tech, and I understand they've made changes to duels recently. There are a little bit more things that you can take because and ignoring them causes a different type of problem than just breaking. So like maybe there's juice there, but I just feel in every game I've ever played, I have maybe one duel a game, and it's like you bully someone. So like I wouldn't spend hundreds of points tooling out a character to be great at dueling because if like you just avoid them.
Yeah, just say no. And the latest update did make just say no a little bit worse because it's not it gives you all the downsides of broken, but it's not actually broken. So if you say no, you can't just unbreak immediately,
Yeah.
which makes the like depending on when the duel happens makes it matter a little bit more. Like if they start the turn with a duel, then that unit is junk for the rest of the turn.
Correct.
If
Yeah.
you say no, then you have to weigh like, do I want the character to die, or do I want the entire unit to be junk? And that goes into when you have to make the choices, and if you make a bad choice, that could end the game.
Yeah. But I feel often it's more base unit. Like if I take one of the sorcerers and give him a bunch of dual tech, he's still not going to be winning against a blooded from the north. The right.
No, but if you take a Heliarch or a Strategos who are already pretty good at fighting,
Yeah.
and then you push it to the nines, like
You're
a
probably
lot of that dual tech stuff, like isn't specifically dual. Like okay, we're looking at on the screen as an example, Eleutheria, Giver of Mercy, where it's plus one clash, and when you're specifically in a duel, it gives you stuff. But a lot of like the items are just here's your bonus.
Yeah. 10 points for
Damage.
clash. Yeah, is probably fine. Some of them I feel are pretty.
Like character stand with plus one of 8. Oh wait, that's the entire regiment for 30 points. Wadron gets that too, but like, hey, plus one evasion as an armor isn't bad.
No.
The regiment gains tenacious, pretty good. Like, oh wow, this is a lot of regiment buffing stuff. That's two of them.
Yeah.
Then armor of the living state, like blessed and quicksilver strike is actually insanely good combo. Not particularly a combo, but like just the fact that you could fight first in a duel. That is dual tech, but blessed can just make you better.
Yeah, that's
like you can use it as dual tech where I'm gonna re-roll my defense rolls, or you can use it offensively.
That's fair.
Even though it's armor.
Yeah, and I guess some of this is like 30 points for line breaker and cleave one, fine, whatever. I think 20 points is like there's a few things that I think are kind of neat, but like in general, like there's very little that stands out as a must-have.
I like the Semyon of the Legion on the screen right now. It gives the entire regiment untouchable, which is reroll 6s on defense, which is pretty good. Yeah. But I think we can move on to Dark Blessings. I did have one specifically that I wanted to talk about. Gladiator gives you Flurry, Deadly Blades, and Parry for 25 points, which feels like a lot of special rules that do a lot.
Yes.
For not a lot of points.
And it's on the two characters that you want it on. Like, yes, it's restricted, but like Zeliarch and Strategos are the ones you want to put that on.
Yeah, you're not going to have an Archimandrite fight, even with all those special rules. But like, enemy has to reroll one. Like, at the same time, you are getting rerolls to your own clash attacks.
Yeah.
You're getting the possibility of doing 2 wounds on a 6, and then you force them to reroll 1s, which, if they have to reroll their 1s, which are successful defense rolls, that is more likely for them to roll more 6s instead of those 1s. So it combos with the Flurry or with the Deadly Blades. So not only are you hitting the majority of your attacks, because I think both Heliarch and Strategos are...
I think they're Clash 3.
Clash 3 base.
Which is
and it's pretty easy to get them up to Clash 4.
We just talked about an item that gave Clash plus
plus
1
1
for
clash.
10 points, and then dual tech. Yeah.
And then dual attack, yeah. And then they go into a duel.
Also, they get Fury if they're Clash 3. Who cares? That's still you're re-rolling, right? That's fine.
Yeah, yeah. Like you can like realistically like hit like 100% of the time. I don't have any other Dark Blood.
Okay, so I have a
about.
few. I'm gonna speed run them because they're not super interesting. They're just like what you get, like the faction. What you get is on the box. Kentark gives character, and then any regiment within 8 inches always count as inspire. This gets around the fact you can't do it. So if you line things up and you want to spend 40 points on it, makes sense. You got to make sure you do positioning. Eternal Discipline gives untouchable, so enemy regiments don't get support attacks.
Wait, they get a banner. Oh wait, untouchable is what am I thinking of? Because I just said untouchable was reroll 6s on defense.
Untouchable.
I thought. Hold on,
Yeah.
I'm gonna probably cut this part out, but I thought untouchable was one thing. Untouchable is reroll defense rolls of 6. Character. Yeah. Okay. Untouchable is reroll.
Then I found an old thing, so we'll just go right past that. Boop. Not interesting.
I mean, it's interesting for the same reason that the other one was interesting.
Correct. Yeah. Eternal Discipline gives you untouchable, which lets you reroll. Rerolling's good. 6s.
Yeah.
Is good. Yeah, I called out Gladiator too because you get all the rules for 25
so
points.
many rules for 25 points.
Yeah.
You've got spells that you want to talk about.
Yeah, so I think nothing else really stood out to me of these abilities or like overkill. Who cares?
If you're taking a Fallen Divinity, you're taking that aura that gives all your nearby guys dread, and dread is enemy regiments can't benefit from inspired. So
yes, yeah.
Bring them on your level, and then when you're on the monster base, you've got a huge aura radius.
Yes.
So that's pretty cool. I don't think anything else is super appealing on the Fallen Divinity.
No, I think that's the one.
Yeah. The ability to the Schema 4, which gives a character the Dark Shepherd draw. I'm like, I don't have anything else I want to talk about, and then I talk about 2 more things.
Yeah.
Schema 4 giving the Dark Shepherd draw event. The Dark Shepherd draw event is the one where you kill one of your own stands. It gives you the Dark Power Point. That can be interesting to give it on one of your caster buddies that doesn't already have it.
Yeah.
So if you don't want to bring, I think it's the Archimandrite has it. If you want to bring a Hero Deacon,
this is how you get it.
Hero Deacon, then you can get Schema 4 on him and still have like that acceleration. So that's cool. But
yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. All right.
So let's go to spells. So the reason I wrote some spells is the big point of this update across all faction is spells need to have action value for the actions you spend on it. So I found a few, not all of them are characters that I thought were kind of interesting. So I'm going to say them, you can explain. The first one was Benediction of Black Sun, lets brutes get blessed. Blessed is good because you can use it to do different things depending what you need. If you want to reroll attacks or defense, it lets you do that, which is great. I like big chunky units. I like their big bone golems because they look cool. I don't know if they're good. We'll get to that later, but like it's fun. It's cool. Yeah, I like big chunky boys.
There are 3 different brute units.
Oh yeah, there's Catarids and then there's the other one. Yeah, there's a few.
Well, I guess
you wouldn't put that.
Yeah, you wouldn't do it to Karatids because they're ranged focused. But in a pinch, you could use it because you can't use it during volley actions. But you can't use Blessed during volley actions, so it doesn't make sense on the archers, except for if they're already in melee. But all the other ones, I think Canaphores already have Blessed, so maybe it doesn't make sense with them. But
I like bone golems, and this goes on them.
It goes great on bone golems.
I'm gonna jump to the if we need to go back. You can tell me.
Hazlia's Touch. Let's talk about Hazlia's Touch.
Yeah,
that's healing.
Wasn't the design space for this army no healing?
Yeah, at this point, this army is like 2 or 3 years old. Yeah, this is just—it's a bug. It's a brain bug, a worm trapped in my brain. Leading up to the release of the Old Dominion, it was solidified, constantly emphasized. No healing. The first faction to have absolutely no healing. Then faction release day, Hazlia's Touch, 1+X wounds. That's where X is the current dark power tier. Like, okay, but that's healing. That's pretty good healing. That's decent healing. Okay. I mean, at least it doesn't scale with how many successes you get.
Correct.
Yeah. Insanity's good.
That's where I was going. Yeah.
Yeah.
Insanity's Cures Up ability lets you do damage 2 per success, and the damage is saved instead of versus the defense against the resolve. So there are certain units that have really high defense and average resolve. This gets around that and puts damage. Feels good.
Hold on, this is the first time I've ever seen Drain Will in my life. I don't know how I've missed this every other time I've looked at this PDF. Is this new?
No.
It's not red, so
No, it's not new. It's been there, yeah.
You reduce their defense by 1?
Yes, until the end of the round.
And then if you get 4 more successes, they get more Aura of Death, and a lot of your units have Aura of Death. Okay. Yeah. I like that. I've never seen it before, but I like it.
Yeah.
I promise you, I've opened this PDF before. I've built Old Dominion lists prior to this update.
And you've never...
I've never seen Drain Will. I don't even see people talk about Drain Will. This isn't real. This is like a Mandela effect moment. This is the cornucopia on Fruit of the Loom. But this is like a new thing. Like, I swear, my brain is like, that doesn't exist.
So the reason I think it's rough is you need 2 to 4 successes. So if you get 1 success, you're pounding sand.
That's all spells.
That's fair. Okay, you're right. Second, I bet most people who use this forget the enemy has -1 defense. It just plays the round. And they're like,
yeah.
You should have... You took 3 more hits. It's too late. It's too late.
Yeah.
Let's not go back. So if you do this, if you want to give this a go, bring a token. Do something.
The problem might be that maybe it's just hard to pull off with the Karis unit. Or maybe Insanity is just so much more appealing because
So
Insanity
got buffed in this one. Like, it's a change. Yeah, it's changed. It's red. It's new.
Yeah, okay. All right.
So it looks...
What was it before?
I couldn't get the PDF because I didn't do the thing.
So you don't know if it got buffed or nerfed?
It got changed. I like it the way it reads. I think it's cool the way it is.
Yeah, 2 hits per success.
Yeah.
Okay, that is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Translocation, I'm moving on now. Translocation, that's neat.
I
like it.
That's what I said. Moves a unit up 8.
Gets some tricky. Yeah. I like in other rank and flanks of names that we shall not talk about because this is a Conquest video, but I like flying units and putting them behind the enemy. And then the enemy has to make the decision on what to do with that.
Yep, you've done that to me.
Really, at this point in the game, I think only Strix can do that right now. But when Quaddles come out, well, Strix and Moroi if they cast this.
Yes.
But when Quaddle comes out, I'm going to be taking 4 of those. And I'm just going to be, oh, you think I'm going to charge you? No, I'm just going to move behind you. And then you can make choices, my friend. Karis get to do that. Do they have anything? Oh, sorry, Moroi get to do that. I just want to...
You need to read Immolation now because you've slept on a bunch of the
No,
spells.
I'm not going to look at Immolation. I just want to see... Okay, so you don't get to change your facing.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. It is an 8-inch march, so you don't get to, like, reform afterwards. So...
Yeah.
Okay, you can't teleport behind them and then with your katana and say nothing personnel, kid. You just teleport behind them. Okay.
Well, they perform a free, so you could do this, then spend your second action to turn, and then yeah, you're right. Yeah, everything.
Oh my god! Wait.
Yeah, you cast a spell, and then you get that free 8-inch march.
And then you can reform as your third. Okay.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Yep. All right. I'm back on this board. You can't charge the same turn, but that's pretty cool. All right. Do you want to talk about Immolation? Because I'm literally not going to read it.
No, I'm not. I literally don't. It's an or a death thing, which is whatever.
All right. Interesting units. I'm going to skip. I'm going to say my thing. Go to Cataphractoi.
Okay. The one thing I will say is that we'll give the standard. We're only reviewing units that are out.
Interesting. We're only reviewing... Yes. You talk.
Yeah, so we're only reviewing units that are currently released. So there are things like Cultists that don't have units yet, so we're not going to look at them. And second, we're not going to go through everything in exact detail. We're going to look at interesting things.
I played against Cataphractoi a couple months ago before this update, and I thought they were the most OP things of all time. And I was ready to talk about that in this video. I wrote notes about it and everything. Because someone was confused in the game I played. They were being played as 6 wounds. And
wow.
the wound is not red, so it wasn't changed. And so my process was I wrote it all up, and then I opened up Army Builder to like check something. I wanted to verify that they were defense 3 and then shield, and they weren't defense 2 and then shield.
Yeah.
And then I look at it and I see that they're 4 wounds, and I'm like, what? Okay. And then I open up the PDF and I see that it's not right, and I'm like, what? But yeah, no, I definitely, my opponent had like 5 of them and a kitted out Strategos,
So
and
that's
they were 6 wounds, so it was like 24 to chew through, and they were all defense 4. I flank charged them with Thunder Riders, and the Thunder Riders died. And I killed like 2 stands of them initially.
If it makes you feel better.
12 wounds. That would have been 3 dead stands.
I was gonna say yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because
I was so ready to like rail about like, this is insane. Everyone's sleeping on these 6 wounds, defense 4, incredible unit, and then I like look at it and I'm like, okay, all right. The Mounted Strategos does have 6 wounds, and I'm pretty sure.
That's what they
showed me something, and I was like, oh my god, they have 6 wounds. It must have been the Mounted Strategos, and we like everyone involved must have been confused because I want to be clear. I don't think that my opponent intentionally cheated me or anything. I think that they were just mistaken. Games are hard. It's whatever.
They probably, like you said, they just look at their sheet and they're like, oh yeah, mounted thing, yeah, 6, yeah, cool.
They saw, or I guess Mounted Strategos and Cataphractoid are pretty different.
Yeah, but like, depending how things are printed, maybe they had the different page.
And maybe there was a mistake in Army Builder or something at the time, or maybe this just isn't indicating red where something was changed. But like, I did play a game against Old Dominion where Cataphractoid were played as 6 wounds, and it was incredibly difficult to do anything about it. It turns out that's not true. So like that's all I wanted to say about Cataphractoid.
I'll say they're a Cav unit. They don't have any other Cav units released. They seem fine when you compare it to like 100 Kingdom stuff. They seem fine. 200
points is a little on the expensive side
for what they have,
especially with only Clash 2. 5 attacks kind of helps a little, but no inherent cleave, and really depending on the charge, but only being move 7, like because they're brutal impact 2 and impact 3 with
the memories of
old to increase impact and give them shock. Shock brings them up to Clash 3 with their impact hits, which is going to be very important. So you're getting a total of 4 on Clash 3. But once you're stuck in, like, even that isn't super impressive. Like, with Memories of Old, 4 Clash 3 brutal impact 2 attacks.
It's just one of the few 7 move things they have. That's my notes.
The most interesting thing that you can do with them with the actual stat line that they have is you give them the officer. This is super expensive and probably not worth it, but if you take 6 or 7 stands of them, I forget. I did some math on this. If you take like 6 stands of them, they can reliably kill any like 12 wound 2 defense like screening unit.
Okay.
And then because they have the overrun special rule from the officer, it means that they can charge again.
Oh, a second time.
Yeah. So you can charge the screen. You literally need to have like 6 stands to do it, and maybe even a little luck at that point. But you kill the screen, and then you charge something more important and do damage to them. And like that's cool, but it's also a huge amount of investment. 65 points per extra stand, and you have to bring 3 of them. So you're paying like 400 points plus the officer for... Yeah.
And at that point, you probably want a Zeliarch so that when you get the overrun, that you can do something on the other... Like, do you know what I mean? Like...
Maybe, like, you don't get to clash. Well, unless it's the turn that you are
use.
Doing
that's
the
what I'm saying.
Clash.
But that also feels like the biggest Goldberg. Like, okay, I'm going to attack a screen which they're going to have. I'm going to roll well enough to kill them. They are not going to get good rolls on their defense. Then I'm going to make my overrun charge so I make contact. And then I'm going to be able to do this.
Free attack clash. And, it's a huge amount of investment for little practical payoff. But if I was doing Old Dominion, I would actually probably do that because that's the kind of meme jank that I do.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have anything else you want to talk about. Here, I'm just going to tell you what I want to talk about, and then you talk about it, whatever you want to talk about.
I have things.
And carotids are the only other things that I care about.
Oh, I have a few other things.
Okay.
I liked Insanity. Kiers have Insanity. I like that. They have loose formation and 12-inch range, and they're light, so they come out early. And in the early game, shooting back and forth, loose formation is going to keep them around a lot longer, especially with their evasion 2. And you can huck out Insanity. Yeah, once again, this picks here. I like Insanity. As you grow the unit, they get a better priest value, so they can roll more dice. Every success is 2 hits against resolve. So like that's cool.
It's cool, but I just look at the 12-inch range, and I think Insanity is also 12-inch range, and
Yeah.
I don't see that. Like, the loose formation is going to let you get into 12 inches.
Yeah.
But
once you're there,
this
feels like
it's going to take you so long to get to that 12-inch range. You're going to take 1 to 2 attacks beforehand. I think that loose formation will get you there, but you won't spend a lot of time there.
Makes sense.
Is my thought.
Yeah, mainly I like Insanity, and this is a unit that has that. Every time we do one of these, I talk a lot about standing on objectives. I know Isaac is a firm anti-objective stander.
I hate circles. Never stand in a circle. If I see you stand in a circle, it's the opposite of a sea bear. Okay? That's a SpongeBob reference. I don't know if you've ever watched that show.
I have, but
it
not
was
that.
kind of popular in the thousands, the aughts. It's about a little yellow guy. He's a square. One of the episodes, there's a sea bear, and if you draw a circle around yourself, the sea bear ignores you.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. I'm the opposite. The joke there being that I will attack you, specifically if you draw a circle.
It's why it's why we don't finish many of our games. He destroys my models when they get in the objective.
Yeah, he puts objective markers on the table, and I just flip it. That's why we don't do battle reports.
I like the Legionnaire because for 100 points, it's a medium, which when connected with the strategist can be a light. It gets the support 2, shields. It's got decent stats, 4 wounds, 4 attacks. Yes, it's cleave 2. You got 4 attacks. It'll get through. They auto get standard, and that standard means the second move gets +2. So that if they move, they're moving 12. It counts.
Oh.
Their memory of the old is they get +2 for they get +2 stands for seizing objective, which means they're better at holding objectives. And then I wrote something here. The Dark Cenopath lets you get extra power tokens by being on an objective, which that's what they want to do. So feels like an easy upgrade. The other thing is an Opti. It gives them Vanguard, which you get 3 moves. So it's going to be 5 inches. 7 inches because of the standard, and then 5 inches more if you want, so you can just rocket up the table to sit on objectives, which you're better at. So Legionnaires, I don't know if they're the most exciting unit. They're not. They are probably the best objective sitter I've seen in the game, especially when you put a little bit of upgrades on them, which just makes it more valuable to do the thing you want to do anyway.
They're cheaper than Men-at-Arms.
And I think they have better stats, right?
I know they don't have better. Well, I think they have the same stats, except they don't have resolve.
Yeah, so that means they're going to last longer.
And they also have terrifying, and they also have better flag, and they also count as more stands.
Yeah, this is a really insane memory result to me. Like it seems like
and
very
they have
impeccable.
Evasion actually. Yeah, the evasion over
Puts
Men-at-Arms. Anyways, I just wanted to point that. Don't compare units across books.
Because you'll be disappointed.
But also, they're cheaper than Men-at-Arms.
What's it called? Athanatoy? Athanatoy. They have lots of attacks at 6, low clash, but guess what? They have flurry, so it don't matter. You're still gonna put things through. Defense is low, but with no resolve damage, they're still gonna last a bit.
Plus, the parry special rule does help.
Yeah.
When you activate that Memories of Old, parry makes enemies reroll ones to hit you.
Yeah, and then you can do the Prince-up upgrade on this to always get Inspire. So if you're really worried about the low clash, 6 attacks with the upgrade, clash 3 flurry, you're going to be putting out some damage. So kind of cool. Medium.
The Dark Cenotaph also allows them to generate dark power if they're on an objective.
Yeah.
That won't matter.
Yeah,
you could also make this unit count as light and bring it on turn 1. which
Yeah.
I think that's the funniest part, actually.
Yeah. Oh, just having this. Yeah, because this, even like Dwegam's um, fast little robot dudes, this would just chew them up with that, right?
I I think so. I think because those guys are defense 3, which is huge for a light, but I think they're back to 4 wounds now.
Yeah, and then
So, like,
just buckets of dice, right? And then you're re-rolling. Yep.
yeah. And if you're always inspired and you have the Strategos with melee power ups, like, you're going to do enough damage.
Yeah.
I think that they outcompete literally any other light,
Yeah.
any other.
Yeah, because they're
light.
medium that come in as a light.
So they
yeah.
still score and everything, yeah. I'm pretty sure they kill any light that you can bring. So that's fun. Ranging Guard, I know they're not on my list of things to talk about, but just the fact that their cleave gets so high.
Yeah, that's
funny.
That's
funny to me.
Yeah, that's the thing I was going to say is they're heavy, so they come in late unless you lead from the front. I don't know if they can get strategists can pull them. They're 200 points, which is a lot. 5 wounds feels good, but they have, like you said, the reason I have them here is they're defense 3, they're hardened 1, and they still are backstopped by evasion, so they're going to be savings on a lot. They're not taking morale damage, and they're 5 wounds, so they're going to last. They're cleave 2 base that you can just like remember some things, and you get cleave 3 and line breaker, which, like, if you're fighting the right unit, that could essentially be the equivalent of cleave 4, right?
And don't forget, if you also spend if you can draw event and spend an action.
Oh, you can double up 4 with
Yeah, so you get up to 4 cleave with line breaker, which ignores shield and bastion. And yeah, it's silly. And they're always inspired because you take the Princeps.
Yeah, you spend 30
points there.
points
So they're always rolling on 4s.
Oh, because they're, as far as this army goes, base class 3 is insane, and then you can upgrade it with Princeps. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they seem good.
Pretty funny.
Yeah.
I'm going to talk about Carotids.
Yeah, let's go.
I think that Carotids, I don't think they're good, but I think that they fill a very important role in the army. I don't think that I would make an army without bringing 1 unit of like 4 to 5 stance of them.
Yep.
Because the 20-inch range with decent armor piercing, like, it's only Barrage 3 and they're only Volley 2, but having that unit that hangs back and just pegs the opponent in the middle-ish game, that's what forces them to come to you. And the army is kind of slow, ignoring the fact that you have a strong early game by coming out faster than the opponent, so you get in position faster, and you can make mediums, lights, and all that nonsense. If you ignore that and you just look at how slow the army seems intended to be, the Carotids add very important, like, come at me role. I think they're very important. I think they're less important in a world where your medium units come out as lights and you have +1 reinforcement roll values. But
so almost every mission we end up playing at events, the last few events, because they haven't changed the event packet this time, so if you see this in the future and it's different, has some objectives on your side of the table. These guys sit there, they're medium, so they count as scoring, so you're going to be able to put something there, and with 20-inch range and armor piercing 2, they're still going to be able to impact what is happening. And as if you spend an action to Memories Old, you get better barrage. If you get a free or draw action barrage, you can stack that up. So yes, you can be base 3. Then you spend an action to get 4. Then when you get the point where you get a draw event, you're 5. Like, do you know what I mean? This stacks up, which is why they sit on the back, they score, and they just throw damage out. And if it's small, it's still better than when I put my frickin' my Huskarls or whatever medium unit, and they just 3 stands sit in the back, and they just are like, that's 100-some points that just sits on an objective.
And this is one of those units. I think this unit exemplifies what I was talking about with Memories of Old, where it can be a trap to Memories of Old, because nothing stops you from taking aim. You're stopped from inspiring, but you're not stopped from taking aim.
Correct.
The calculus of win barrage +1 versus take aim, if you have to choose, if it's an action you have to choose between, like, that becomes harder. Especially Fluid Formation seems like a no-brainer, barrage +1 in Fluid Formation. But if you're at the tier where you have to use a action for your Memories of Old, you can't get fluid formation and then immediately use it. It would happen at the end of your activation.
Correct. Yeah.
So there's situations where it is better, but I do think that sometimes taking the volley 3 is better than taking the +1 barrage.
Yeah. But there's a world where you can stack these up, right? Like when it counts as a draw event, a free action, and action, you got +3 and maybe 6 is worth the spike.
When the opponent is 10 inches away from you,
yeah,
so that you're getting effective range, and then you can draw event and use the action, and you get up to barrage 5. I think that's when it's worth taking. Okay, it's only volley 2, but like that's quite a lot of shots that you can take.
That's me throwing a bucket of dice.
Yeah, and if you've got 4 stands of them, you're taking 20 attacks.
Yep.
A third of them hit. That does not actually sound impressive. 7 of them at armor piercing 2. I guess that's a decent.
The armor piercing 2, I think.
It's not worth 300 points of investment, but okay. Yeah, I'm walking it back. Carotids, I still think they serve an important role, but I don't think they're end all be all.
No. They're yeah. You and I agree. They're objective setters, just like Legionnaires. They're not exciting. They just score, and that's part of the game's played. I would like to talk about bone golems. So. Bone golems are expensive. They're brutes. I like big chunks. So I love these guys. They got all right stats for their point cost.
They actually do have 6 wounds.
They do. Yes. I think the thing that makes this unit worth the 210 points is they literally have a dictionary of special rules. So that's good. So they got the Aura Death 3, which they can memories ult to 4. So if you're stuck in protracted battle, you're throwing out damage. The Cleave 2 is good. That's the number you want to be at to affect most things in the game. Harden 1 means you're going to stick around. Better with your defense 3. You have no evasion, which is a little rough. You have relentless blows for a little bit more consistency, or a little bit more consistency with the attacks. And unstoppable gives you consistency on making the charge. So like I like these guys. I think the models are also great. I put them here. Yeah. They do seem expensive though, right?
They are very expensive. So mathematically, think about relentless blows as just being 1 higher clash. So like when you charge, these guys are effectively clash 4.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool. Except relentless blows has the unknowable, unmathable spike factor.
Yes. It's one of those things that if you get the spike, they can be trash all game, and if you get that one spike, that you're just going to memorize that forever, and they're going to be your favorite unit.
Yeah. You make 12 attacks and get 18 hits, and you're going to be like, okay.
Yeah,
not bad. Best unit ever. The Aura of Death is, I think, also cool. Several units have Aura of Death. Oh, Canaforts, I mentioned it earlier, Canaforts do have Blessed, so you're not going to cast. Bone Golems, I think, are the best target for Blessed, except for, let's scroll down a little, unless you want to talk more about Canaforts.
No, that's it.
All right, Bucephaloi. I think, is it Bucephaloi or Bucephaloi or Bucephaloi? I think there's 3 different, anyways. I like these guys a lot. They're super expensive, but I think especially with the 6 wounds, they seem good just with how little, like, damage they're taking. I guess they're taking, like, they're not that defensive.
I was going to say, the only thing
Defense 3, Evade 2, 6
Evade 2
wounds,
feels...
Like, the fact that they're not taking resolve damage, and they're doing so much, like, high cleave, high brutal impact. Brutal impact's only 1.
Yeah.
I swear to God.
They're brutal impact 1, and oh, why you think it...
Hold on, I'm just going to double check the...
okay, so they can memories to get more.
Oh, that's what it is. Okay, because the high brutal impact, when you do it as a draw event, and like you get to tier 3, you draw event and action brutal impact, so you're up to brutal impact 3, you charge.
Yeah.
I guess they're only impact 2, so it's not that great. I had a very positive opinion when I was writing notes. The downside that I was going to say is they seem easy to bog down. Like, they're not going to carve through a unit of men-at-arms or force-grown drones.
Yes.
They kind of have, like, the Siege Breaker Behemoth problem of a pretty low number of attacks, considering how high their stats are.
Yeah. If you get them against a target where the Cleave 3 matters, they're going to rip it up. But like you said, if you throw brute drones at them and be like, have 30 wounds, have fun with that. It's like,
they're
cool.
They're not going to do anything.
Yeah. Yeah, and you're brave for trying to attempt to say the words. I glanced over these guys because I'm like, I ain't trying. I ain't trying this.
I think it's bucephaloi. I think it's
That's how I would say
bucephaloi,
it.
but part of me is thinking someone's going to be like, no, it's definitely bucephaloi. You idiot, you moron,
So it
you
looks like
small worm in a pit.
cephalopod, right? That's
But
how
it's two
CEFP.
C's, which makes me think that it's definitely not bucephaloi, because the two C's that it's like Gucci, Gucci. You know the word Gucci?
Yeah,
That's that's what I'm thinking here. Oh, what if it's bucephaloi instead of bucephaloi?
I like that best.
Bucephaloi
Bucephaloi.
or bucephaloi. Anyways, Parabellum, tell us how you pronounce this word. I don't know if this is Greek or Latin.
When you pronounce it, honestly, sounds Italian, especially when you're comparing it to Gucci.
Well, Italian, Latin, they're basically the same. I think it's Greek because prodromoi, I think oi, the end of this. Let's have a little linguistics lesson. I'm pretty sure the oi end there is a Greek thing more. I don't think Latin does that. So, with that being said, I think it's not bucephaloi because che is an Italian thing, and I think Greek is different enough from Italian that it does not share that. Yeah, okay,
I'll buy that.
we're done with linguistic
Yeah,
hot takes.
yeah, I was gonna say.
I'm not actually educated enough on this subject to talk about it with as much confidence as I'm giving. All right, do we have any more units, or are we done?
I'm done. That was my notes.
All right, we talked about Old Dominion. Thanks for joining us. Like, subscribe, comment, especially comment on the linguistics lesson I just.
Yes, linguistics. Let us know how to pronounce this or what we should be looking into. Also, let us know what kind of content you like. We've gotten a few people both on votes and in comments that people like the army reviews, so that's why we're doing this. If you want to see battle reports, hobby tutorials, more of these type of things for different armies, let us know. It would be great, and hope to see you in the future.
Bucephaloi.